Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahak Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video I'll be profiling an article from NBCnews.com titled UN or United Nations Chief Calls for Slavery Reparations to Overcome Generations of Discrimination. Marking the UN International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery, Gutierrez said the past laid the foundations for a violent discrimination system based on so-called white, really Edomite supremacy. And as you can see, this guy, Antonio Guterres, he looks like he's an older Northern Kingdom, Israelite, so-called Latino. But when I looked him up, his birthplace is in Portugal, which is next to Spain, so-called Europe. So all I can say is he better hope he's an Israelite. Because if he is not an Israelite and is an Edomite or any other heathen nation, the only thing he has to look forward to is going into slavery, because that is the true reparations that the true children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today, are going to receive. It's not going to be 40 acres and a mule, a couple of thousand, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars, reparations check, a free health care or a college education or anything like that. According to the scriptures, these heathens that have afflicted the children of Israel, and at the top of the list, you Edomites, are going into hardcore bondage and slavery for the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven, building it up. And there's no way that you can escape it. And, I was originally going to do a response video before a brother had posted this article, because on one of my previous videos, a Jesus flunky posted a comment saying salvation is open to everybody. And then they posted a bunch of scriptures, but all I had to see was that title to see that you were bugged out and don't know the scriptures. Well, and I may still do a different response to that, but you can consider this, a response to it as well. Let's see what Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Yahweh being the true name of the Father, the Heavenly Father, and Yahawashi being the true name of His Son, have to say about salvation, equality, or anything like that, open to everybody. But let's get into this article. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres called on Monday for reparations over the transatlantic trafficking of enslaved people as a way to tackle its legacy in today's society, including systemic racism. From the 15th to the 19th century, at least 12.5 million so-called Africans, so-called Negroes, Israelites of the Southern Kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, were kidnapped, forcibly transported by European ships and merchants and sold into slavery. And those so-called Africans who are Hamites, as well as those so-called Arabs who are the biblical Ishmaelites, all had a hand in the transatlantic slave trade. And then, those so-called Arabs also had the Arab slave trade. So all you heathens, your name isn't exempt from this, judgment that's coming your way. But at the top of the list, as pursuant to Psalms chapter 83, are you Edomites. Those who survived the brutal voyage ended up toiling on plantations in the Americas, mostly in Brazil and the Caribbean, while others profited from their labor. And also, you had a lot of Israelites of the Northern Kingdom, so-called Latinos and Native Americans, who were sold into slavery as well and brought into Europe and other places. It was called the transatlantic slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade, but also the triangular slave trade. You had Southern Kingdom Israelites brought from the west coast of Africa to the Americas. And here in the Americas, they, worked on those plantations to create these cash crops, which created the capital for capitalism, which you Edomites in the West, you got to come to terms with that. Everything you have now was built off the backs, the blood, the sweat, and the tears of the Israelites. And then from the Americas, and they were brought to Europe to be sold as finished products. And also in the triangular slave trade, you had Northern Kingdom, brought to Europe as well to be sold as slaves. And this is all in the scriptures. This is Joel chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. And what does the header read? The nations, the heathen nations, will be judged. For behold, in those days and in that time, which we're currently living in, the last days, really the last seconds of the last days, before this end of the age of the Gentiles, the heathen Gentiles, and the ushering in of the eternal kingdom of heaven under the children of Israel, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah, southern kingdom, so-called Negroes, so-called African Americans, so-called black, and Jerusalem, the northern kingdom, so-called Latinos and Native Americans, the elect of all 12 tribes, waking up and coming back unto their power, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat in the Hebrew, which means Yahweh's judgment, in that Middle Eastern region, really Western Asia, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel. And when you go into that word plead in the Strongs, it's shaphat, which means to judge, punish, vindicate for afflicting the apple of his eye, his children, his heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, such as with the transatlantic slave trade, and parted my land, which that land is parted today between those small hats who aren't, the true children of Israel. They are Amalekite Edomites who appointed the land into their possession, as it says in Ezekiel 36 verse 5. Look up the Balfour Declaration, as well as, those Palestinian Arabs, which you don't belong there either. You're both squatters and you're about to get evicted. And this battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat is the War of Armageddon further down on in this chapter, where the Most High is gathering these heathen nations down into that region to judge you for afflicting his children, the main part of World War III, and there will be nukes involved. Verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink, selling them into slavery. Our children, our elderly, our young, they were sold into slavery on those auction blocks, either sold for money, sold for musket guns, wine, tobacco, sold as sex slaves, which, what happened to the men as well, as it says, given a boy for an harlot, etc., etc. They had breeding farms in North America. Hey, you Edomites, first and foremost, have a hell of a lot to pay for. And as it says in Revelation chapter 18, do double unto them as thou hast done unto us. And hey, the slavery you Edomites are going to go into is going to make the slavery you had us in look like a day on Sesame Street. And I believe that Jesus Reject, who commented on my page's name, was like solar something for. How does that sound for salvation being open to everybody? Yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? Speaking of those Africans, which helped in rounding up, the Israelites in the west coast of Africa to sell unto these Edomite Europeans, and all the coasts of Palestine, you so-called Arabs, you Ishmaelites, who not only had your slave trade, but you also helped in building those ships to transport the southern kingdom. Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? And we're going to come back to this chapter later. Let's go back to that article. In a statement to mark the UN International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery, Gutierrez said the past laid the foundations for a violent discrimination system based on Edomite supremacy. Again, America and this whole Western civilization was built off of the back of the Israelites. When you read the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, it said that we would plant vineyards, but others would eat of them. We would build houses, but others, would live in them. working on these plantations, building the big houses, planting the crops, only so that these Edomites could, reap the benefits of them. We would betroth a wife, but another would lay with her. And we know, those slave masters, those other people that worked on those plantations, hey, they were known for taking those Israelite women, having their way with them. Think about Sally Hemings with Thomas Jefferson, so-called founding forefather. We call for reparatory justice frameworks to help overcome generations of exclusion and discrimination, Gutierrez said. But the only way to overcome that, true righteousness, true reparations, is going to be you heathens going into slavery and paying back your tab that way. That's it with this article. Now let's get back into these precepts, seeing what the Most High has to say about salvation being open to everybody, and equality and love for all, and kumbaya and holding hands. Actually, I'll get Jeremiah 30 verse 16 first. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, slavery, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. When the 144,000 of the elect of the nation of Israel come off the chariots with Yahushua in those new spiritual bodies, Yahweh Ratazah, I'm of that number, as well as you sincere, brothers out there are as well. Hey, we're going to have those new spiritual bodies being like Superman, and beginning with the elites of these heathens, rounding you up and slapping those cold, hard iron chains on you so you can begin that 1,000 years of building up the kingdom of heaven. And we're going to take your gold and your silver, your precious goods, your daughters, your cattle, everything, and you're going to have to drink that cup to the dregs. There's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. Let's go back to Joel chapter 3. Yeah, and what have ye done with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. And they that led thee into captivity shall go into captivity. They that spoiled thee shall be a spoil, etc., etc. Because ye have taken my gold and my silver. Hey, first and foremost, speaking of the children of Israel, who are the gold and the silver and the jewels, of the Most High, as well as our physical gold and silver and precious goods, which you took from us. Look at the arch of Titus. And I have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things, the children also of Judah, the southern kingdom, and the children of Jerusalem, the northern kingdom, all 12 tribes back together in the kingdom of heaven, beginning with the elect of all 12 tribes, have ye sold unto the Grecians, the Edomites, so-called white people, Europeans and Americans, that ye might remove them far from their border to the Americas, to Europe, scattered from one end of the earth even unto the other. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off. For Yahweh hath spoken it, point blank period. Your sons, your daughters, your old, you're all going into slavery. And now to a Christian's ultimate kryptonite, which they can't get around. And you'll have some Christians that'll say, oh, well, that was in the Old Testament. That's done away with. We're in the New Testament now. Well, let's go to the book of Revelation, the last book of the New Testament, chapter 13, verses 9 to 10. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity, the transatlantic slave trade, the Arab slave trade, Jim Crow South, and even in the past, during the Roman captivity and the Grecian captivity, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, and he that killeth with the sword, lynchings, these cops gunning down our people, the list goes on, feeding our people poisonous food and water to drink, giving us hip-hop culture, so that we can kill each other. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And hey, the saints are patiently waiting for these times to come to pass, which we can see we are at the door of it. Apostle Tahar has deemed 2024 to be the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble, and this year has, been popping off with things happening left, right, and center. We're only waiting for these last few prophecies, the mandatory implementation of the MARKOFTHEBEAST in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18, which is the RFID/NFC C-hip implant in World War III. And once that MOTB is mandatorily implemented, it's going to be seconds before Yahushua makes a second coming to save his elect and put the final nail in the coffin of the rulership of you heathens. And then the fun begins. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, and he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And this is Revelation chapter 2, verses 25 to 27. But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come, and he that, hold on a second. Salakia. But yeah, when you read Revelation chapter 2, verses 25 to 27 in the Bible, it's in red letters. So it's Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus, speaking. And let's see what he has to say about salvation being open to everybody and equality. But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel have within them. The faith and the patience of the saints. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, the heathen nations, to do what? And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father. Slavery. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, and he that killeth with the sword, well, you know the rest. And to further hammer in that point, let's go to Revelation chapter 19. I'm going to start at verse 11 and then jump down. And what does the header read? The coming of Hamashiach. Again, speaking of Yahushai. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, that massive fathership chariot. And the chariots are what these people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs that Yahushua is going to be returning in, which was so massive that the prophet Esdras in 2nd Esdras chapter 13 couldn't see the end of it. It was like a great mountain to him. Think about those ships in Independence Day. And he that sat upon him was called faithful and true, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. What did Yahushua also say in Matthew chapter 10? Think not that I have come to bring peace, but the sword. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 15. Again, also speaking of Yahushua, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he also shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty God. So Yahushua is going to be putting you heathens into slavery as well, and beating you with that rod of iron. And on the top of his list are you Edomites. Read Isaiah chapter 63. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? And as it says in Romans chapter 8, the elect are going to be joint heirs with Yahushua. So the elect, again, Yahweh Ratazam of that number, we're going to be laying our hands on you as well. We'll close it out in Ezekiel chapter 25, verses 12 to 14. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah, the southern kingdom, so-called Negroes, by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. A hardcore bondage and slavery, then the Reconstruction era, the Jim Crow era to the Civil Rights era, all the way up until today. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. Everywhere you Edomites dwell during World War III is going to get hit with nuclear missiles. But the only place that's going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth is the United States of America, Babylon the Great in the scriptures, which is going to be turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. And then the remaining Edomites in these other lands are going to get rounded up for slavery. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people, Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord Yahweh. Revelation 18 again, do unto them double as thou was done unto you. The Edomites that died on this side are going to be reborn through the loins of the surviving Edomites straight into slavery, like our people were born straight into slavery. And when I say we're going to do double unto you, again, your slavery isn't going to, our slavery isn't going to hold a candle to what you're going to go through, but it's all going to be in righteousness. There's going to be no buck breaking, sleeping with another man's wife in front of him, anything like that. We're going to do it according to the law. And hey, it's just words can't describe, the terror that's coming to you Edomites first and foremost, the rest of you heathens. As it says in Isaiah, we're going to meditate terrors on your red ass. But that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.